So I'm taking apart the suspension right now. My truck is lifted already. I have a 4-inch suspension and I have a 3-inch torsion key on it. I also have that spacer that I put on to correct the angle on the upper control arm. I'm kind of just taking off everything so that I can cut off the bump stop and cut off the lower mount for the shock so that I can add the coilover. I'm using a Mustang coilover kit, which is just a bracket that's going to be holding my coilover. I got that off Amazon for about $150. So right now I'm just pointing out the bump stop. That has to be cut off in order for us to put the coilover on because it does get in the way. I cut it in 3 different spots to make it easier. After you're almost cut all the way through, you can just use the hammer. So right now I'm just using my bandsaw to cut off the lower shock mount. I'm gonna put a beefier lower mount there so that I can mount the coilover. Um, I did get the mounts off Amazon. Again, it's a Mustang mount. I'm just utilizing it because I didn't want to make my own. This is the upper mount for the Mustang setup that I bought, and this is the lower mount. I added that hole there just so that I can get my coilover a little lower to the control arm. So that end piece needs to be cut off because it doesn't really fit up in there. So I cut it off just so that I can get her real tight up in there. So right now I'm just lining it up to make sure that everything's gonna fit. I'm gonna be marking the lines because I have to cut open that upper mount section so that I can give myself a little bit more room to add that mount. So I'm cutting again so that I can put that mount up in there. The flat surface in there, there's not too much of it, so I have to put some relief cuts and then I'll be welding it up later so that everything is structurally strong. So there's actually a circle um, piece of steel up in there. So I did have to like give it a few love taps to get her up in there, but it fits perfect. Right now I'm just snugging it all the way down so that it kind of helps the plate get all flush up in there. I pound that flap the back down so that I can weld it later. Just test fitting the coilover just to make sure everything's good, and then also so that I can line up the bottom. Just try to keep the coilover parallel as possible. I'm just over here taking measurements so that I can do the same to the other side. So I did put a bolt through the lower control arm to hold it there, but then I also left it there because the lower mount and the upper mount is actually holding the whole weight of the vehicle. I'm just gonna go around and weld this baby up. They don't make a ball joint spacer this big, so I kind of just had to make it myself. Those upper plate and the lower plate was purchased off eBay, and I kind of just used that to create the rest of my ball joint spacer. I use steel pipe for the spacer, so I know that my bolt holes is true, and I kind of just worked around that, filling it with steel. I used about 5 plates to create this, and 3 pieces of pipe. The pipes are 3 inches. So after I welded everything up, you didn't see, but I did put the coil over in. I adjusted it to the right height that I want. Right now it's sitting at 12.5 inches. I'm putting in that spacer that I made, and I'm gonna button everything up. So the truck is sitting at 12.5 inches from stock, um, but it rides really nice. And yep,